Hello, everybody. I am Russell Tomlinson, along with my co host, Stephanie Renee Tomlinson, and we are back again here for Relationship Revolution Television. One of the most enjoyable things that I do in my week is being able to come to you, and we're going to bring you some insight, some information, some revelation that's going to empower you to prosper. How you doing, Steph?
I am doing well, and once again, this is one of my favorites too. So I'm ready to do
Absolutely,
it.
absolutely. We got something that's powerful that we're going to share. But first, before we do that, I want you guys to take time to like, to share, to follow, or subscribe. All of the information is right there on the screen, and it helps us because you help us to get the word out. When you like what we do, when you share what we do, when you follow us, when you subscribe, it really empowers us to take this broadcast further because what we're talking about is something that everybody can use. And when it comes to relationships, everybody's involved in those. So take time to do that. And I am going to go right into this, Stephanie, because
Mm.
this subject here
Yeah,
is probably one of the most, I think, one of the most provocative subjects that we can deal with finding people you can trust,
yep,
and we're gonna kick that off. But I want to at least give people a heads up that when you talk about finding people you can trust, we're not talking about a large number of people,
hmm,
but we are talking about people that if you understand the principles that we're going to share, and if you understand how to go about the dynamics of your relationship, then what we're going to be able to do is convey to you how you can put this to work in your life. So, finding people that you can trust, that's our subject matter for right now. Now, Stephanie, let me start out with this because
okay,
um, I got a scripture, and
hmm,
everything that we do here, we do by way of the principle of scripture. And I know that a lot of people have probably heard this, where it says in Proverbs 3 and 5, trust in the Lord
hmm,
with all your heart. Lean not unto your own understanding, but in all of your ways acknowledge him, and he will
hmm,
direct your path.
hmm,
I'll tell you why that's important. Because your level of trust in God will sharpen your ability
yeah,
to know who you can trust in the natural realm. If you
hmm,
learn how to trust the God that you cannot see, he will grace you to have a level of whether it's discernment, whether it's just insight or revelation.
hmm,
He will enable you to be able to see people
yeah,
that you know you can trust. You won't have to go through all of the wondering and worrying that people having to deal with when it comes to actually trusting uh, people. You'll know exactly what to do. God will give you insight, but here's the key.
hmm,
Here's the key. You've got to know how to go about trusting Him with all of your heart and leaning not to your own understanding,
yeah,
but acknowledge him and watch what he does. He will direct your path. So, well, we need direction,
hmm.
especially when it comes to people that we can trust.
Yeah. That's very comforting to hear. Not having all the pressure on ourselves. I think one of the biggest things that we deal with as people is we don't know who to trust in so many relationships on the job and in our personal relationships as a single woman. Who can I look to, who can I trust? In business, there's so many areas where we want to trust people but just don't know who to turn to. So it's comforting to know that we don't have to do it on our own, especially when we don't trust our own self to make the right decisions about other people.
Exactly. And along with that, Stephanie, we have to consider that every relationship that we are involved in depends on how well we relate to God by faith.
Yeah.
So when I look at this and I find out that my level of trust in God will determine my ability to know the people I can trust.
Hmm.
That in and of itself is a very powerful principle because how many of us, all of us, encounter people
Hmm.
that we thought were trustworthy
Hmm.
and then come to find out as time went on and the relationship went further along,
Yeah.
you discovered that, wow, they could not be trusted. What
Hmm.
if we knew ahead of time? What if God would just open our eyes
Hmm.
to the people that we're dealing with, the people that's all around us? How much hurt, pain, discouragement, and disappointment would we save ourselves
Yeah.
if we had this understanding of what we're talking about right now? So the closer I draw
Hmm.
to God, or God draws me closer to Him, He says, draw near to me, I'll draw nearer to you. So
Hmm.
as I draw nearer to God, I'm learning things in His presence.
Right.
I'm learning that He is trustworthy. In other words, I know what trustworthiness looks like
Hmm.
based on my relationship with God.
The characteristics.
I know the characteristics of it. I understand how He actually goes about demonstrating that
Right.
He is trustworthy. And the more you hang around the real deal, the more you'll be able to understand what a counterfeit is,
Yeah.
what's real.
Yep.
And
You'll be able
God
to
is real.
recognize it. Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
He's
love
real.
that. Yeah. Yeah, you'll definitely be able to recognize it a lot easier. So that's where we trust God. But that's also very comforting to know. I would love to get into what these characteristics look like, so we can give people an idea of how to find people that they can trust.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Let's do this. You have some, we always talk about the red flags
Okay.
of how, that's a red flag. That's a red flag. You have to be careful. That's a red flag.
Hmm.
What we want to do is look at some green flags.
Yeah. So
What
how
are
to
the green
know who
flags?
you
How do
can
you
trust?
know who you can trust? I think we've got people so paranoid about who they can't trust.
Hmm.
It's difficult for them to find out who they can trust.
Yeah.
So you have something that I think would help a lot of people out. Share some of the green flags with us.
Okay, I'm going to share some uncommon ones that you probably don't hear more. But the first one that I do want to share is you feel safe being yourself. A lot of times when we're in certain relationships, we feel like we have to put on a facade or uh, uh, give people what we believe that they want to see from us. So we're not fully being ourselves. Or if we are fully being ourselves is not embraced or accepted, so we kind of like mellow ourselves out a little bit to become, something else. So if you can feel safe being and
Mhm.
displaying your full self, then 9 times out of 10, you are in a relationship that's trustworthy.
Okay, so you feel safe.
Uh-huh.
All right,
Being
just
yourself.
being yourself.
Exactly.
Okay, all right, I like that. Anything else you want to add?
Let me see. Okay, this is a good one. Their words, their behaviors, and their actions align. And this is where we have to really pay attention to characteristics.
Mm.
Like you were saying, you compared it to the characteristics of God. God's word, his actions, and his behaviors are all aligned. So when we start seeing that, okay, I hear what you said, but your actions and your behaviors are showing something a little different, then okay, this is probably not a trusting situation.
Yeah, yeah. You know
Mhm.
what else comes to mind?
What's that?
I have to ask myself when I make promises, personal promises to myself,
Hmm.
like if I say I'm going to be better as far as my um, my diet is concerned. I'm not talking about trying to lose weight. I'm talking about eating healthy.
Yeah.
And then I keep violating
Mm.
what I promise myself.
Mhm.
Well, how can I attract a trustworthy person when I myself, I'm not trustworthy as far as keeping my promises to me?
Wow. Yeah, that's
And
good.
and that's where so many people, I think, fail to be capable of attracting a trustworthy person.
Yeah.
People, we're talking about finding people that you can trust.
Mhm.
Okay, there's another side to this, and that is, if people find you,
Mhm.
can you be trusted?
Yeah.
And the way that we determine that
Mhm.
is that we actually look at, I've got to consider,
Mhm.
can I keep the promises
Mhm.
that I have made for my personal life? You
Mhm.
know, the new year, everybody does these, not everybody, but a lot of people have these resolutions.
Thanks. Mhm.
And, I'm told that after 2 weeks,
Mhm.
the resolution is broken. It's not fulfilled
Mhm.
because people make promises to themselves that they themselves can't keep.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to attract a
Mhm.
trustworthy person,
Mhm.
if somebody is looking for somebody that they can trust,
Mhm.
I need to look at whether or not I am trustworthy
Mhm.
with myself.
And you said something because if I'm excusing my own behaviors against myself, then that probably puts me in a position to excuse other people's behaviors as well.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's good. And the reason that is because the only thing that can happen is that I can attract someone that actually has the same issue that I have of
Mhm.
not being trustworthy to themselves.
Yeah.
But just imagine that in my own private decisions concerning me, I don't keep my word to me.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm going to attract someone that's looking for somebody trustworthy, most likely I'm going to attract that kind of person. Somebody that has a problem keeping their vows to themselves.
Yeah.
So actually building trust, we build our trust in the presence of God.
Mhm.
Then I've got to look at me. After I know that God is trustworthy, I've got to now allow myself to be developed
Yeah.
on a private, personal note as a trustworthy person.
Yeah.
And now, once my relationship with God and myself is in order,
Mhm.
now I'm looking forward to attracting trustworthy people.
Yeah.
They'll find me if I don't find them.
Most definitely. Yeah, and I'll be able to recognize if they are keeping their promises to themselves.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Mhm.
So, once again, we're looking at, we skip over God helping us to build our trust
Mhm.
in Him. We skip over, are we trustworthy? And then we immediately are looking for people that we can trust. When
Yeah.
we don't find them,
Mhm.
we're disappointed and we think nobody can be trusted.
Mhm.
But very few people look back at, especially believers.
Mhm.
Now we've got this thing, you can't trust leadership. You can't trust leaders in the church. You can't trust government. You can't trust. It's hard to find people that we can trust.
Yeah.
That's the complaint. But here's the truth. The truth of the matter is this:
Mhm.
if I learn by faith how to put my trust in God first, and now I'm learning what trustworthiness in a person looks like.
Mhm.
Then, after I am in His presence, building my trust in Him,
Mhm.
now I've got to take another look at me.
Yeah.
Now I've got to align myself with the kind of trustworthiness, integrity
Mhm.
faithfulness to me that
Yeah.
I see in God.
Mhm.
And now I have a right to look forward to attracting or being able to discern and
There you go.
discover
And
and
recognize it.
define a
Mhm.
trustworthy person. But I can't skip over God. I can't skip over me and then just expect people
Ugh,
to
that's so
show up in my life that's trustworthy.
that is so good. That is so good. We can literally end it right now, and that's all we needed to hear.
Yeah, I mean,
So
it
good.
is. Yeah, it is. It is. Those are the steps that our faith requires for us to inherit
Mhm.
these things that we require of other people.
Yeah.
We want people to be trustworthy,
Mm.
but then we ourselves are not building trust in God. We're not building trust in ourselves. We're not keeping the
Yeah.
word to ourselves. And then we get really disappointed
Mm.
when we keep encountering
Yeah.
all of these people that they just can't be trusted. There's some people, I'll never trust another man. I'll never trust another woman.
Mhm.
I spoke with somebody just yesterday.
Mhm.
They've been out of a relationship for 3 years. And then what they're doing now, they're testing out this new relationship.
Mhm.
Well, what they don't realize is this, is that you're going to continue to encounter people that are not worth your trust
Yeah.
because you haven't gone through the proper protocol of
Mhm.
establishing trust in God and then learning how to be faithful to
Yeah.
what you have promised
Mhm.
yourself.
So let's repeat that protocol one more time, starting
Yeah,
with the what
yeah,
is that?
yeah. Well, I call it a faith protocol
Mhm.
for finding people that you can trust.
Mhm.
So I understand the principle is my relationship with God is by faith.
Okay.
I'm building my relationship with Him. Without faith, it's impossible to please God.
Mhm.
So when I come to God, I've got to believe that He exists and that He is a rewarder. What does He reward me with? He rewards me with the ability to relate to Him, relate to myself, and then relate to people.
Mhm.
Now, so with God, everything is cool and clear. I don't there's no fault in Him.
Right.
So when I observe Him and I
Mhm.
discover through experience how trustworthy He is,
Mhm.
now how does that translate into my personal life?
Mhm.
For instance, I made a decision, okay, I'm going to intensify my my exercise routine.
Mhm.
I'm going to work out at least 5 days a week.
Mhm.
I went to the doctor and he says, "How much exercise are you doing?" I'm doing 3 days a week. So he said, "Yeah, well, knock it up to five, and
Mhm.
that would be sufficient." So
Mhm.
that's what I do. Sometimes I'll do 6 or 7 days a week because I feel like, well, what am I doing?
Mhm.
I'm building trustworthiness in me.
Mhm.
So if I'm going to eat right and exercise and all of these other things that we preachers and ministers and motivational people tell other people to do,
All the time.
yeah. So if I'm not doing it,
Yeah.
then I'm preaching
Mhm.
what I'm not practicing.
Yeah.
And anything that I'm not practicing that I preach puts me in a position where I am not being true
Mhm.
to myself
Mhm.
because I want to attract
Yeah.
a person that is a quality person. I
Mhm.
want to attract a person that is somebody that's a person of integrity. I
Mhm.
want to attract a person that is faithful and true and trustworthy. Well, my faith actually attracts me to God in those areas. He's perfect.
Mhm.
But now I've got to work on me. I've got to build me and make me trustworthy to me.
And then I know who to discern and who to recognize.
And then it's just like that old example
Yeah.
of how our bank tellers trained.
Mm-hmm.
They never train, from what I'm told, they don't train bank tellers with counterfeit money.
Mm-hmm.
They allow them to handle the real thing because they will immediately be able to see a counterfeit coming because they've always dealt with the real thing. Well, of course, nowadays we've got technology where they can take a marker and mark the bill, or they can put it on some kind of light and all of that. But when it comes to dealing with that which is authentic,
Mm-hmm.
um, if there's a fake you, and you mentioned this earlier,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm putting on facade and then I'm somebody else behind closed doors, then I'm not trustworthy
Yeah.
to people or to myself.
Yeah.
So I learned trustworthiness in my faith towards God.
Yeah.
And then, as a result of learning to trust Him,
Mm-hmm.
then I practice learning to make me trustworthy. What did I say to myself?
Mm-hmm.
What did I promise myself?
Mm-hmm.
What commitment have I made to me
Mm-hmm.
that I'm not keeping to myself?
Yeah.
And then I go back and I make sure that I take care of all of my commitments
Mm-hmm.
as far as how I treat me,
Right.
how I relate to me.
Mm-hmm.
Am I trustworthy to me?
Yeah.
Now, once that is established, I have a right to expect trustworthy people to come into my life. I was talking with Dr. Cindy the other day, and from time to time, I would say to her, the Lord really believes that He can trust me with you
Mm-hmm.
as my wife because He knows how I take care of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bible says that if a man, no man hates his body, but he cherishes it. He takes care of it.
Mm-hmm.
So the same way I take care of me
Mm-hmm.
will determine whether God will trust me
Yeah.
with trustworthy people
Mm-hmm.
that will in turn
Yeah.
be trustworthy towards me.
That is amazing. So even starting at the foundation, what I hear is if your relationship with God is broken or not aligned, then your relationship with people will never get to that place of being aligned as well.
That's exactly right.
Hmm.
And the protocol for good relationships always starts with faith.
Yeah.
You know, that faith is foundational. Uh, I talked last night on my personal development word study. That's every Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I talked about how when God gives us faith, He gives us faith to build us.
Hmm.
He doesn't give us faith to build faith. He gives His word to build faith. He'll give us a word,
Hmm.
and faith comes by hearing, and hearing the word. That's how faith is built. But
Yeah.
when it comes to me being built, that requires that I know how to relate to God first.
Yeah.
It's all about building. God builds me. He builds me up in my most holy faith, the scripture says. When he talks about praying in the spirit,
Hmm.
he wants me to use my faith to build me up. That's why he gives me faith
Hmm.
so that I can be built up in his presence, built up in my self esteem, have the proper self esteem, built up in my love, and built up in my peace. Everything that God gives me, He gives it to me to build me up. I'm
Hmm.
not struggling trying to build my faith.
Yeah.
The word, if I stay in the
Hmm.
word will build my faith.
Yeah.
What I want to do is take the faith that God has given me. I'm able to relate to him through that faith.
Yeah.
Then I take that same faith and
Mhm.
relate to me.
Yeah.
So I call myself trustworthy.
Yeah.
I call myself dependable. I
Mhm.
call myself capable. I
Mhm.
call myself blessed. I call myself a person that can be trusted. In other words,
Mhm.
but my faith in God enables me to apply um, that faith to me.
Yeah.
And I use that faith to build me up and make me a trustworthy person. So, therefore,
Mhm.
the people that will come into my life, I'm capable of knowing who I can trust
Mhm.
because trustworthiness is a I guess the best way I can put it, it's a spirit.
Mhm.
It's an attitude.
Mhm.
You can just pick up. Like this is somebody right here
Mhm.
that I'm just picking up that will work well with me, somebody that can be trusted with responsibility, somebody that can be trusted
Yeah.
with carrying out their purpose, their destiny, somebody that can be trusted with legacy. All of these things is
Mhm.
what determines uh, who comes into my life,
Mhm.
who I allow, whether it's ministry, whether it's business. The marriage part, that's sealed, that's
Yeah.
already done. As far as Dr. Cindy is concerned, I mean, man, the Lord really thinks highly of me to give me that kind of partner in life. I
Mhm.
mean, well developed,
Mhm.
and it's my words towards her as a wife
Mhm.
that cultivates her.
Yeah.
She's well developed. She doesn't need cultivating in every area, but as a spouse, the Bible says she's cultivated by the words that I speak to her,
Yeah.
and
You
so
have two well-developed individuals. You are well-developed enough to, look to God and then, look into yourself and then to trust her as well, or and vice versa for her to trust you as well.
yeah,
So that is actually, it doesn't seem to be a very common thing. I know a lot of people in relationships, and I'm going to touch on another green flag.
yeah,
But I know a lot of people in the relationships don't feel like that what you just described as far as what you do in your marriage, it doesn't happen like that for a lot of people.
yeah,
So a lot of people in their relationships may feel confused about, okay, well, where do I stand in this relationship? Which leads me to the next green flag, which is you're not confused in a relationship. You understand exactly where you stand. You understand exactly, what your role is in the relationship, what you all expect of one another. So how would you touch on the confusion that a lot of people do experience in relationships where they're uncertain. Can I
yeah,
trust this person? Can I not?
yeah, yeah. Well, the thing about it is that people have the wrong model. I
Hmm.
would say the model. My model starts with God, then with me, then with people. Most people's model come from something that is not always, when it comes to relationship,
Hmm.
something that is not always a sound model.
Okay.
Where do we get our model from? Is it that have we looked at a relationship and tried to model ourselves after that?
Hmm.
The information that people have is important, but the source of the information is even more important, especially if you talk to people about whether it's marriage, whether it's friendship, whether it's a business relationship. When you talk to people about these things and then you consider the source of their information, well, no wonder there's so many things that bring about confusion in their personal relationships
Yeah.
because they don't have a model. See, Jesus was a perfect model when it came to relationships. Perfect.
Hmm.
So I look at how he conducted himself. For instance, this is not getting off the subject, but it's really true.
Hmm.
He understood that there were circles, inner circles and outer circles. There was the 12, then there were three, Peter, James, and John. Then there was one, John,
Hmm.
who was so close to him that John could hear his heartbeat because John would often lay his head on Jesus's breast. So just being able to have an understanding of a proper model
Hmm.
that's based on truth
Yeah.
will clear up confusion that people have. But and this is why I push
Hmm.
coaching and consulting and counseling.
Yeah.
In the most important area of your life, it's your relationship.
Yeah.
So, the difference factor solution coaching program is what I recommend
Yeah.
because the things that I'm sharing even now
It's not
sounds
common
good.
information.
Yeah, yeah, sounds good. Great information we're sharing tonight.
Hmm.
However, most people don't know the the application of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't know the foundation of it.
Yeah. How do I
And
apply it
so,
to my situation personally,
okay.
individually?
Yeah, that's right. How to apply it to you as an individual, because we want people to straighten up and fly right.
Hmm.
But are we straight? Are we flying right?
Hmm.
Do we have the right understanding, attitude, information, revelation that we need about God and then ourselves in order to make sure that we know the proper procedures for
Yeah.
making sure we have sound, safe, satisfying personal relationships? If
Hmm.
I have a sound, safe, satisfying personal relationship uh, in my home, I can adapt and adjust to anything that I run into
Oh,
outside of my home.
yes, 100%.
Yeah, but I put into practice with God, with me, my spouse, and
Mhm.
then with everybody else. It
That's
works. It works.
it settles it.
Yeah,
It really does settle it.
yeah, it works. And
Yeah.
so trustworthy people
Mhm.
are not difficult for me to find. Then there's a way that I pray when it comes to people. I have a specific kind of prayer that the Lord gave me. It's a strategy, a prayer strategy that reveals to me a
Mhm.
trustworthy person. And
Wow.
I pray it every day.
Mhm.
I pray it all the time, and it works.
Yeah.
So I'm attracting people that are
Mhm.
trustworthy. Now, that does not mean that they're perfect people.
Yeah.
They can be trustworthy and still have faults and failures and issues
Yeah.
in their lives. But if they have a heart
Mhm.
or they want to do right, they want to be trustworthy,
Yeah.
then you can actually be able to be uh, kind, merciful,
Mhm.
long suffering with people because you're helping them to develop their own trustworthiness.
Yeah.
But it's important that we understand what I call the protocol of faith
Mhm.
for finding and attracting trustworthy people.
Yeah, I think it's so important the key that you just put on. We're not looking for perfect people.
Right.
Even Jesus' disciples was nowhere near perfect. You know, so it's not the
Good point.
right. It's a trustworthy person, and there's certain characteristics that you look for in a person that you see. Okay, just because we're not perfect, so we can't expect perfection from anyone else. So that's exactly what we're not looking for. We're not looking for perfection. We're looking for what's called to us.
Exactly. That's a very good point because there are people that are assigned to you.
Mhm.
And what a lot of people are doing, they are attracting people based on things other than them being assigned to them. They may like their gift, they
Right.
may like their charisma, they may like their personality. But the question is,
Mhm.
Is this person assigned to me?
Yeah.
And sometimes when you simply go by the gift, personality, or the charisma or the ability of the person,
Yeah.
you find a person that is gifted but not trustworthy.
Yeah. We have to be able to look at ourselves as important enough in God's eyes, where God has assigned people for us and God has assigned us to people.
Mm, yeah, those are the people. When I pray, I pray specifically, God, send those that are assigned to
Mhm.
me, and I am assigned to them.
Yeah.
That's part of my prayer strategy.
Yeah.
That way, I don't have to go through the riffraff and trying to find a needle in a haystack,
Yeah.
because trustworthy people are few and far between, because
Yeah.
most people do not know how to discern. Uh,
Yeah.
they don't know how to. There's an instinct also
Yeah.
that goes with this thing. And once again, it's not that even if you are trustworthy to yourself and to God, it's not that counterfeits are not going to show up.
Mhm.
The issue is you're going to be able to tell what's real and
Mhm.
what's fake.
You also don't have to worry about, the people who are assigned to you. You don't have to worry about them breaking your trust because they're on assignment.
Exactly.
Period. They're on
You're on
assignment. It's kind
assignment.
of like Judas. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah,
he
yeah,
broke
yeah.
Jesus' trust, but he had to fulfill assignment.
Judas was not only on assignment, but Judas had a particular purpose to fulfill.
Hmm.
So there are times that even though you have a lot of trustworthy people that you may be able to connect to,
Yeah.
sometimes, let's just say Judas' season ended and Judas ended his season.
Right.
He could have stayed trustworthy and faithful to Christ, but it was already known what he would do.
Hmm.
And Jesus, a pastor told me decades ago, he
Hmm.
said, when I was pastoring, Pastor Tomlinson,
Hmm.
uh, here's the deal. If you get 12 people, one of those people could very well be a Judas.
Hmm.
They told me with every 12 that comes,
Yeah.
if you got 24, most likely you got a couple of counterfeits in there.
Yeah. But they're necessary. The counterfeits are necessary and
Yeah,
they're part of the assignment. So
exactly.
sometimes, although they look not trustworthy, it doesn't mean that they're not supposed to be there. They're
Yeah.
still a part of the assignment. And that's why it's so important to pray and ask God, who is a part of my assignment? This is why it makes it impossible to do it outside of God.
Yeah, those are the people. Yeah, and this is where God has to be trusted.
Hmm.
Trust in the Lord. I trust God what you're doing. I don't
Yep.
understand what
Hmm.
you're doing.
Hmm.
So he says, yeah, that's exactly right. Don't lean to your own understanding. In other words,
It doesn't look
there you go.
the way it
Don't
should
try.
look.
Yeah, don't try to support yourself
Right.
based on what you understand.
Yeah.
Trust me, and I'll direct your path. I will direct you to the people, and I will direct the people to you
Yeah.
that you can consider trustworthy. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I like this. I like this subject matter.
mm.
I don't know how what time we have. Maybe you can somebody put that in the chat box. But you got any more green flags?
Yeah, I have a few more green flags. Let me see. Honoring boundaries. Someone who's honoring your boundaries. So if you have boundaries, that you've set, that's a green flag that you can move forward. That
That's a
person.
good, yeah, that's a good green flag. That's a good green flag. What else you got?
Mhm. Someone who acts respectfully in arguments. One of the biggest things that we typically see is when things aren't going so well in other people's emotions. That's typically when we see things starting to come out. So when someone knows how to act respectfully in arguments, that is a green flag,
Wow.
that you are in a healthy relationship. When we hit another one,
Yeah, please.
someone who supports your personal growth. You don't want to end up, in a relationship, no matter what relationship it is, in a relationship where people become a little insecure about you growing or have a problem with the direction that God has called you in. So someone who supports your personal growth is
Hmm.
another green flag. I'm
That
just
see, I like the idea
hmm
that we're telling people what to look for.
hmm
A lot of messages or teachings or conversations like this. Yeah, it's always red flag, red flag, red flag.
right.
And once you focus on the red flag,
Mhm.
you'll miss the green flag.
Yeah.
Give us another one. Give us another one.
All right, let me see. Actively working on their own self growth. So people may show up and they may not be exactly where we want them to be, but you see that they're actively working on self growth. So that doesn't mean that they're perfect. They can be imperfect. We all have room to grow, we all have room to learn.
Yeah.
So someone who is actively working on their self growth.
Wow.
Another one
Yeah. Yeah.
is people who challenge you in a good way. And this is important to me. This hits a chord with me personally, but people who challenge you in a good way. There's nothing more that I don't like when I see a relationship and their partner, maybe, just knowingly just doing things that are just off. And there's no type of accountability. There's no type of, hey, let's look at that again. And let's see, in what ways we can do that a little better. So you want someone that's going to challenge you in a good way.
Yeah.
You need to,
And that is such a great point because it
Mhm.
takes a person who is interested in your well-being.
Yeah,
Because we can be challenged by people that simply just don't like us.
yeah,
And then, you have somebody that's saying, okay, all right, because I'm interested, I have something to offer because I'm a person
hmm
who is trustworthy. You can trust me that when I see something that will benefit you, I will bring that up to your attention and
yeah,
give you another way or another angle of dealing with whatever issue or challenge you have to deal with.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's a good one. That's always a good one. And let me see what else I have. Oh, this is another good one. Looking for, and this is more relational. This is more for romantic relationship, marriage, but
Mhm.
looking for someone having a life outside of the relationship. Now, these are uncommon ones that I'm talking about, but someone
Yeah.
who has a life outside of relationships. A lot of times in therapy, I hear, it's only, I'm only, he doesn't like, or she doesn't like when I'm, with other hobbies or other friends, or, so it's more like a type of control slash manipulation. So,
Yeah.
being okay with having a life outside of that romantic relationship or marriage.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Like, you have to be a secure person.
There you go.
See, here's people that cannot be trusted are generally people that are jealous, envious, suspicious. And the reason they're suspicious, jealous, envious of other people
hmm
is because
They
of
want you to,
what they have developed
yep.
in their personal lives by
Yeah.
not being trustworthy
There
themselves.
you go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If you are, if I'm a person that is a cheater, if I cheat on my spouse,
hmm
extramarital affair,
hmm
well, eventually, uh, if my spouse goes to the grocery store,
I was just thinking the same thing.
like, where you been?
Yeah.
Like, I
Why did it take you
remember,
extra 30 minutes?
yeah, I remember some folk that I dealt with long time ago, and
hmm
this guy had a real problem with his spouse, and the lady wasn't doing anything. His wife wasn't doing anything, and he was just accusing her all the time. But the problem was he was doing some things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you see, yeah, developing. Maybe we ought to look at how do I, develop trust
Yeah.
uh, in with my spouse. What does that look like? That's
Yeah.
another thing that we can talk about and consider. However, this thing of finding trustworthy people
Hmm.
is one of the most important subjects that we can deal with. And I think that there are people that have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
They're gonna want to know more information. And when they send their questions, even after this program, they send their questions. Uh, it's something that we could possibly deal with, in the next with the next Relationship Revolution television program.
Yeah.
However, this is to me, this is so needed and necessary because it helps us to grow strong, healthy, vibrant, trusting relationships.
Yeah. I love it. I think every point was made.
Yeah.
After that first point, we could have ended it literally 30 minutes ago.
Yeah, well, we're going to close it out. I don't think somebody let me know in the chat box. Do we have anything else that we need to cover? Of course, we always want to welcome those that have this desire to give. Revolution Television is no joke. This is where you get information. It's not hype.
Hmm.
It's not just a quick talking point. We actually have a truth discussion, and we actually give people information that they can use and put to work. I hate the idea that there are just certain platforms that make people feel better, but they're not capable of doing better. What Relationship Revolution Television is all about is bringing you into a place where you can actually do better. That's why, for those of you that appreciate this kind of platform, that's why we welcome your financial support. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your well wishes. Thank you for all of the great compliments that we get by way of email. And add to that, if you are so impressed to do so, add to that your financial support towards such a ministry. When you help us to get this word out, you're making something good happen for other people. And what you make happen for them, you know how it works. God will make something good happen for you. In other words, He's going to send people your way, resources your way, that's going to empower you financially and otherwise. There are people coming into your life that's going to share their wisdom and their gifts with you. That's going to help you to be better at whatever God has called you to do. So, by all means, you heard something tonight. Well, give into what you heard by faith. Your giving is an expression of your faith. That's what giving is. It's putting uh, some tangible gift that says, what I heard in the spirit, I am now showing it forth in this realm, expecting something good to come my way as a result of my giving. No wonder. The scripture says it very clear. And it's not just money, but it does say, give, and it shall be given unto you.
Hmm.
Pressed down, shaken together, and running over. So, all the information is right there on the screen. Go to that Cash App that says Real Tomlinson, $ Real Tomlinson, and right there, deposit into this faith endeavor with your best gift, whether large or small, and watch God do something miraculous and supernatural in your life and in your relationship, because your gift is helping others to step into a functional, satisfying relationship that there's no substitute for that. So we want to thank you in advance for your giving. And then, of course, we want you to be aware of of my personal family coaching service, personal coaching services. Uh, you know, Difference Factor Solution is where we really take time to, on a personal level, share some principles, insight, share experiences, what they are experiencing. People get breakthroughs in areas. Let me tell you, it's an investment into yourself and
Mhm.
it's an investment into your personal relationships. Whether it's marriage, whether it's friendship, whether it's business, let me tell you, there are some awesome things. And I appreciate every one of my clients because they all have testimonies of victory. There are things that we share in our private sessions that can never be shared here over this public platform. But I guarantee you, the tools that we use are effective in bringing about the desired results of the kind of relationship that God has promised you. So make that investment. There's the email. You can email me. Let me know if you're interested. And I am excited about your future. So thank you again for your giving. Thank you for reaching out in our Difference Factor Solutions program. And then there it is. There's the schedule, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday, personal development study. That's for you as an individual. Tuesdays, Clubhouse. Anything can jump off on Clubhouse. Then, of course, right here, Thursdays, Relationship Revolution Television, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I just happen to love 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
It
That's when we
works.
do all of these things. And Stephanie, this has been fruitful. This has been great. Once again, I appreciate my excellent co-host, my daughter Stephanie Renee Tomlinson. And
Much.
we've got a lot more insight, information, revelation to share. But until then, we're going to sign off, and we look forward to seeing you again. Same place, same time with me and my host. We'll see you guys then. God bless. Have a great rest of your day.